Want me to hold it?
Yeah, that would be great.
Oh God, it's so ridiculous. All right.
You're not even holding it
Because
right.
I can't, because I'm looking at it in the camera and it's weird. Okay.
My fellow Americans, for the final time, I come to you from the Southern White House here in South Florida. You're not holding it right. You got to hold it just right. It's like sort of there, no, maybe. I just want to thank you all for this wonderful time in my life. The last 4 years been tremendous, incredible. And don't forget, Grover Cleveland, he was president twice, 2 non-consecutive terms. So the possibility is still there. There is still the possibility you're going to see me again in the not too distant future. So get used to seeing me. We're going to start Trump TV. We're going to make a lot of money. We're going to convince the Americans that I was cheated and it's rightfully my presidency. Unlike Hillary, I really was cheated. And I'm totally going to be back. So I hope you're prepared. There's going to be a lot of wonderful, incredible things coming in the near future. But for now, you're going to have to get used to watching the most incredible, tremendous, impressive podcast in all of America. And that's a saying quite a bit. So tune in, enjoy. I'll be back. You're not seeing the last of me. Bye-bye.
Oh my God.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to all of you. Donald Trump's
I'm so looking forward to not hearing about this with him anymore.
Well, too bad, because he's coming. Guys, smash the like button. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe. Make sure that you comment, like, and share as many of our videos, clips, the whole shebang. We really appreciate it. And
okay, so let's address shirts, right? Because
we have a wonderful announcement this evening, as you can see.
Okay, so there is a limited edition, and I mean limited edition, of these. Now, we will eventually be able to get more. They are jerseys. They are purple sleeves. They say, "Here comes the sun," with our little thing on the front. And on the back.
How about that, baby? Generational change.
So these are like a limited edition. We have, and they run a little like this is a medium. So for the smaller people, it's unfortunate, but this will not be your run. Medium is the smallest size that I have. I have 3 mediums, I have 6 larges, and I have 3 extra larges. So the first people that buy those, they are going to be, I believe it's $25 a piece.
25.
And it's really, we're just trying to get merch off the ground. And what we'll have is we'll have a merch store that's linked to the YouTube show.
And Gen Core shirts as well, right?
Well, yeah, we could sell Gen Core shirts too. I mean, this is just, but we have more of those than we have of these. And, but yeah, these are going to be back. And when we are able to really open up a full merch store connected with YouTube, I will have these again, because I really like them. It was my idea. I think they're really cool. And so these are, yeah, they appeal to me. So they please me. And they're very, very soft. They're a very soft jersey.
You know, there was this belief that we were going to have some type of a break after the election. You know, everyone's like, oh my God, finally, we don't have to worry about this so much anymore. But as it turns out, you never get away from it. It's just a continuous, endless elections here, elections there. That's how we do it in the United States. You can never not be prepared for your next election, which is just kind of interesting.
Which brings us to tonight's guest.
We are having a very interesting guest tonight.
I honestly know nothing about him, really.
I do not know much about Mr. Ellison either.
But I will say this. He could be the spawn of Satan, and I'm still going to support him. So what does that say?
About little Marco?
About little Marco. Okay, so his name is Alan Ellison.
Alan Ellison.
And he is going to be our guest tonight, and he is challenging Marco Rubio for the United States Senate.
That is assuming, of course, there isn't a Democratic primary, which we all know there will be.
Right, in which case, then I really, like I said, I don't know anything about him, but again, he could be the spawn of Satan. And I would be like,
so.
Go, Alan! Woo! I'd be putting on my devil horns. I mean, anything's better than Marco Rubio.
Well, the reality is, you know, Marco, I don't think is going to lose. However, I do think that if the right gubernatorial candidate is running and catches a lot of fire against DeSantis, it could be
I
sort of
agree, Josh.
it could be sort of the reverse situation from a few years ago. Yes, I agree. Nobody's worse than Rick Scott. I do think DeSantis is beatable. I think that part of the reason he's beatable is because he's such a colossal asshole.
And he is also going to suffer the repercussions of COVID, just like Trump did.
And not only that,
You know?
he has a scandal on his hands. What he has done with Rebecca Jones is not going away.
No.
Rebecca Jones, ironically, was officially arrested today. She turned herself in on Martin Luther King's birthday.
We need to see if we can get her on.
That would be great. Listen, she's really, she's sort of a gatekeeper of sorts to what's really going on here, and the fact that she probably has such incriminating data against DeSantis' administration.
You mean whistleblower, not gatekeeper?
Well, whistleblower. Yes, my apologies.
I'm just saying.
Well, gatekeeper is somebody who isn't
mixing up your
a gatekeeper is somebody
terms.
who isn't going to be releasing the information. So, what we're doesn't matter. So what we're really focusing on right now is figuring out how to build a bench effectively. But what we also need to recognize is that we need to build a statewide coalition that isn't being built right now. And so I know that Mr. Ellison ran for Congress, I believe, twice, but he ran in a heavily red district on the West Coast. All of West Coast Florida is pretty much red, with the exception of a portion of Tampa Bay. So other than that, basically, if building name recognition, getting support is definitely the key to, having statewide name recognition is a very difficult thing to build. And so there isn't anybody who's on the Democratic side in the state of Florida other than Nikki Fried and maybe Anna Eskamani, because of all the work she's been doing, that really have statewide name recognition. And odds are they are both going to run for the gubernatorial nomination on the Democratic side to run against Ron DeSantis. So as far as who ultimately ends up running against Marco Rubio, and like I said, I don't think there's enough negatives on Rubio where he's imminently beatable. I do think that if the right gubernatorial candidate, like I said, is really catching fire, then whoever is the Democratic nominee for the Senate could ultimately catch the blue wave, if you will. In the state of Florida, though, we all know that that's usually far and few between. But we do have some very important issues to discuss. Obviously, before we get, with Mr. Ellison, Donald Trump is going to be out of the White House in 24 hours, I believe.
When is the official exit?
Well, it's on Wednesday on the 20th, as it always is. But apparently Trump
No, that's the inauguration,
Yes,
right?
but apparently Trump is leaving early. That's what he said.
Well,
Said, I'm totally not hanging around for that
please,
total
you've
fraud.
got to stop. All right, don't let the door hit you on the way out.
Yeah. But of course, even as it ends and a new one begins, and now we see ourselves entering in this new phase, which is going to be very interesting. As Biden takes over, he has already made it clear that one of his first executive orders is going to be to nix the Keystone XL pipeline, 5-6 years overdue. But hey, we'll take it. Better than nothing, I guess. Have to keep the pressure on when it comes to the environment. Pardon Assange. I'm not holding my breath on that one.
Although I did just hear that Pamela Anderson was just requesting a meeting with Trump, like now. And I know, hey, if Kim Kardashian was able to do that.
She totally wants to meet with me because she's totally attracted to me. She's totally attracted to me.
In all seriousness,
really
they actually have met each other at Playboy functions before, and which is, of course, not surprising. And so, she is going to meet with Trump to appeal for him to pardon Julian Assange. And that will be really interesting to me. I mean, he was willing to do it for Kim Kardashian. So the question is he, Trump's all about celebrity and all of that stuff, and certainly about, celebrity women.
Yes.
So, I feel like if anybody,
I think if the right person gets to him,
maybe that's Pam
basically
Anderson. I don't know.
Hey, Pam Anderson, you want it? I ain't saying what you should do in order to convince
Trump.
She,
you know what though? She became friends with Julian Assange, I want to say back in like 14 or something like that.
Yeah.
And she has spoken about this before. She has defended him to those old biddies on The View. I've seen her go to bat for him on that. So, maybe it'll happen.
I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. He's on mute and no video yet. So I guess he may just be getting set up. So,
okay. Oh, there we
Ellison is in
go.
the studio. He's ready to go. He is punctual.
He is very, very punctual. And we'll have him introduce himself because really, this is all new to me.
And he's wearing a suit, which I was like half contemplating. Do I want to put the
No,
jacket
you're
on?
not running for Senate. You don't need to be wearing a suit.
Well, you never know.
I'm not wearing a suit.
Could totally happen one day. You never know what might happen, baby.
God. Oh, God.
So we're
going to meet him.
We are very pleased to welcome into the studio a gentleman who has run for the United States Congress, albeit in a red district, but has experience, is not just doing this on the fly, and has progressive credentials, including, from what I read, supports Medicare for all, which is nice.
So this is gonna be good because I do not know you. Obviously, I did read that you ran for Congress twice before, so we ran at the same time. I wasn't familiar. I will say we didn't pay a whole lot of attention to a lot of the red districts. I know that's kind of, I didn't mean to ignore you, Alan. No. I really didn't.
We're not friendly with Cindy Benai, so, we are a little familiar with the west coast of Florida, but we definitely want to learn more, and we're very grateful to have you on the show tonight. So please introduce yourself, and welcome to Generational Change.
Thank you so much. Josh, before I got on, I heard you do a Trump impression.
I totally appreciate anybody who appreciates my impression. And, right now we're just hoping he pardons Assange. That's what we're hoping for.
That's hilarious. We all need a good laugh every now and then. But I'm Alan Ellison. I am running for the United States Senate. I actually did run twice before. The first time that I ran was in 2018. It was actually because of the death of April Freeman. She passed away about 30 days before the general election in 2018. And so there was a special election, and I actually put my name in the hat after a lot of people called and said, Alan, you should put your name in the hat. So I did. And I think I won 52% of the vote for the special election against 3 other contenders. And that left 28 days to run against Congressman Greg Steube. And so in 28 days left to run, my name wasn't even on the ballot, but I was able to get 117,000 votes, getting almost 40% of the vote without my name being on the ballot in 28 days. So I came back in 2020 to run again, and we were doing extremely well. We were going all over the place, reaching so many people, and then COVID-19 hit. And the thing is that between 2018 up into 2020, the Democrats were leading the Republicans 3-1 with voter registration drives, and we were turning them out. But when COVID hit, it halted a lot of our face-to-face, person-to-person activities. We stopped doing a lot of the groundwork that we were doing, both voter registrations as well as face-to-face events, to just focus mostly on digital. But the Republicans, they continue to go after those people face-to-face and continue to have their events. And 9 months ago, they actually caught up to our lead and passed us. And so it actually reflected across the state. But I don't believe that moving forward in 2022, we're going to be dealing with COVID-19 as a factor. So we're going to get back to our ground game, and we're going to continue to register voters and get our message out and set the tone for who we are as Democrats. I grew up in Hardee County, Florida, which is the centermost part of the state. I went to college in Polk County, Florida. I was born in Highlands County. So I'm kind of like the native son of the Central Florida area.
Let me ask you, what was the congressional district? What is that? Like, explain where that is, the district that you had run for previously.
Okay, so it's District 17, which is the largest congressional district in the state, covers 10 counties, stretches from Cook County all the way down to Lee, from Okeechobee over to Sarasota. So I was the candidate that was working the hardest last year.
Yeah. So then you decided, okay, so now I'm just going to kick it up a notch and run for a statewide office because I have so much experience covering such a vast landmass. I might as well go for statewide office. So what inspired you to do that versus, run for the same seat?
Well, the thing is, inside of District 17, it's like a 3-1 Republican Democrat ratio. But I think that I would have a better chance of not only defeating Rubio, but also getting the message out, because there are a lot of issues that people just really are not focused on. So the things that I want to be able to bring to the forefront and make people understand is that we have between 18 and 22 veterans committing suicide every day. And a gentleman brought that information to me to champion, because he took it to 80 members of Congress, 40 of which are veterans themselves, and not a single person actually tried to adopt his plan to curb veteran suicide. And so I want to make sure that we are looking at all of the issues that matter to so many people, issues like Americans living with disabilities. We know that there are 2.6 million Floridians that have a disability, and there are many more people who are disabled, been deemed disabled by a board certified physician, but administrators are continuing to deny them their disability benefits. And it's just not a good place to be for a lot of Americans. And so we want to make sure that we are raising the bar on the issues and awareness so that people can truly have a voice in our Congress. And here's the other thing. Next year, Rubio would have been in office for 12 years. And when I move around the state and I'm asking people in town halls about what has Rubio done to impact your world, not a single person can actually tell me anything that he has done. And so we want to be able to change all of that.
Yeah. So what would you say your top 3 issues are? And if one of those is not Medicare for all, then we can talk about that after.
Okay. So, people ask me that question. I like to say this. I'm a political scientist. So it's not about what issues are top for me. It's really about what are the issues that are top for the people. We get too bogged down talking about, what our agenda is. And my only agenda is to be a true representative of the people. And those issues are very diverse. Now, I will say that right now, the most pressing issue is COVID-19, which deals in the healthcare arena. I will say that because Florida has so many people filing for unemployment because of job loss, then jobs in the economy, healthcare, those are going to be the issues that's going to have the greatest impact on the most amount of people. But to everyone, their issue matters just as much as the next person. So I would definitely be working on every single issue, putting together proposals and plans so that when I am the U.S. Senator for this state, that I want to put all of those proposals on the floor so that everybody can have the chance to have equal representation in our Senate.
We're speaking with Alan Ellison, who ran for Congress twice in Florida's 17th congressional district, which covers Sarasota down to Lee County. If you're watching, we have over 100 people watching right now. Please hit the like button. Make sure you're watching on YouTube and subscribe, as well as any questions you may have. Please send them in. Alan, what has been your experience running for Congress twice that you think prepares you to take on this mammoth of a challenge running a statewide race? Florida is unlike most states in this country, some for good reasons, some for not so good reasons. But based on those, you'd say probably the past 3+ years now, what has the experience been like that you feel prepares you to do something of this magnitude?
Running in the largest congressional district in the state, actually, I think it used to be the 3rd largest in the country, is that you get a chance to meet a very diverse and large group of people who come from different walks of life. And I think the thing that has prepared me the most is that I've had a chance to see people from all walks of life and hear their issues and be able to come up with solutions to help a wide group of people. My gift is helping people. And so I just happen to be fortunate enough to find a career path where I can actually maximize my gift of helping people through policy. And so I think the most rewarding thing is just being able to hear people where they are and hear a large, diverse group of people. I think you're going to need that if you're going to be able to run at this level statewide, because there are so many different groups of so many different social economic statuses, different religions, different political backgrounds. And so we've been able to garner a great deal of support across the board. Last year, I got the endorsement of Charlotte Media Group, which is a conservative media organization. I think I was the first Democrat to do so up against the Republican congressman. And they basically gave me the endorsement because they felt that I had the strongest grasp of the issues. And so I build the issues based around listening to the people and finding out what's on their hearts and minds. And the thing is that whenever I hold town halls, I try my best to do as much listening as possible, because it's a very powerful thing for people to be able to talk about what's affecting them. And it's also a very educational thing for me, because I don't know it all. But the more that I listen, the more that I can find out how I can best represent the people of this great and diverse state.
Alan, obviously one of the biggest, I believe the biggest issue on the progressive side of politics is the issue of corporate money. As we know, in the state of Florida, we have several issues when it comes to healthcare, particularly big pharma and the influence it has over, let's say Medicaid expansion, for example. And then, of course, when it comes to the environment, big sugar, we know how they dominate the state, and they dominate it on both sides of the political aisle. How do you feel? Do you reject corporate money? Are you attempting to do this as a grassroots funded candidate, straight through?
Yes, I've always been a grassroots funded candidate. When I ran against Greg Steube, it was something that I hit him hard on, and that was you can't regulate and enforce big pharma or the mining industry and all of these corporate giants to do right by the people if you're taking their money. I actually outraised the congressman on a grassroots level. He raised more than me from a corporate level, but just from a grassroots level, I actually outraised him by $44,000. And the thing is that if you want to be a true representative of the people, then you have to not take so much money from corporate interest groups, because usually those groups are going to pull you in ways that may be contrary to what you should be doing for the people. And so I'm very glad that you brought up the environment, because Florida has a great deal of problems environmentally. One of the things we have is like companies like Mosaic pouring tons of their waste directly into Florida's aquifer. And so when you think about all of the water that exists in the world, only 1% of it is fresh drinking water. So we have to do everything in our power to make sure that we are protecting Florida's most precious commodity, and that's fresh drinking water. And so you think about red tide, blue-green algae. I had a debate with the congressman on this issue, and he said that there was nothing that we can do, when scientists all agree that there are a lot of things that we can do to curb red tide, to curb the effects of blue-green algae and things of that nature. And the other thing is we have to start thinking about what our future is going to look like for our children and our children's children. We have to make sure that we are holding the EPA accountable and making them stronger to do their job. The congressman that I just ran against, he actually put a proposal on the floor to get rid of the EPA. And so we can't have representatives in the Congress who are working for big corporate interests, and it actually hurts the people. We need fresh drinking water. We need clean air. I mean, these are just basic essentials. And when I think about it, these are not partisan issues. These are bipartisan issues that affect us all. And so that's the thing that really I learned the most, is that we have more in common than we don't have. And so we have to find those common threads that kind of bind us together. And some of those common threads are healthcare, Social Security, clean environment, clean water. And so, we don't get any arguments from anybody about do you want clean, safe drinking water to drink?
Right.
We're speaking with Alan Ellison, Democratic candidate for the U.S. Senate in the state of Florida.
He is challenging Marco Rubio.
Little Marco.
So,
Corporate Marco.
that as I said before you came on, honestly, you could be the spawn of Satan, and I would probably still support you. I am actually very impressed that somebody has the cojones to do a statewide race without taking corporate funds. And I don't know if there's anybody that we have in the Senate right now that fits that.
I don't think so.
I mean, you've got Bernie,
but Bernie's,
Bernie's an independent, and it's different, and it's been forever.
But it's not that. It's that you can't compare and listen.
And Vermont's teeny.
We
Vermont
love Vermont,
is teeny.
But
Yeah.
not only is Florida the third most populous state in the country, it's probably the first or second most diverse, like California. It's really,
It's very
extremely diverse. And like you said, you've got the Panhandle, you've got Jacksonville, you've got Central Florida, and then you've got Southwest and Southeast, and they're all very different and very unique in their own way.
Yeah. We could be 5 states, really.
Granted, with COVID, have you had the opportunity thus far in a safe way to be able to get out on the road and travel to various parts of the state? And have you built relationships with, community activist leaders that may be up in Tallahassee, over in Jacksonville or St. Augustine, or, down here in Broward or Miami-Dade, and, starting to build that network that is necessary if you are obviously going to be able to win the Democratic nomination for the state?
Absolutely. That's one of the first things that I started to do, was try to build a network from the top of the state to the bottom of the state, bringing people on board from Key West all the way to Jacksonville. And so, I'm a Floridian. I've been living here over 35 years. I've been doing this for a very long time in terms of, reaching out to people, helping people to build businesses and just a lot of different things. But I do understand how important it is to build a coalition like what they did in Georgia. So I'm trying to duplicate the successes of what they did in Georgia. That's why we're going on a very aggressive voter registration campaign. Our goal is to turn out 5 million new registered voters by next year. And so we're gonna need a coalition to do that. I don't know if you've seen the movement that we've been able to generate so far. I think in the last 2 weeks, we've gotten over 65,000 Twitter followers, and everyone, for the most part, is looking to retire Rubio. I always say the country is trying to retire Rubio. And so we're bringing people on board. I have people say they're going to come down from Georgia and help us to do this. And so it's a movement, and that's what it is. And so we're going to take this movement all the way and flip Florida blue.
All right, let's ask. There were a couple of questions that came up, and I posted this one up because Leroy is asking, do you believe in legalization of marijuana?
Absolutely. I think that, 70% of the public in America is already.
Yeah. And then his other question was $15 minimum wage. Like, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we have to have a living wage in this country.
We would be remiss to not ask. Obviously, this is a very important day for obviously the Black community, and I'd like to know about what are the most important lessons for you from Dr. King. And certainly I would say, based on my experience with Jen over the past few years, certainly criminal justice reform really comes to the forefront. Legalization of marijuana obviously is a huge part of that component. We all know about the racial injustices that exist when it comes to criminal justice, particularly when it comes to things like marijuana. What has Dr. King's influence, if at all, had on you? And is there any specific policies you look at? And
wait, let's be clear that we don't just assume that every person that is a Black person has been officially influenced by Martin Luther King. But I can just say, and as a general rule, we would never ask that, but it does happen to be Martin Luther King Day. So I just want to preface that that's not where we were going with that. But anyway.
No, I totally understand. I was in Africa last year at this time, and I happened to see this monument, and I took photos with it. I saw this monument of Dr. King. It was probably about maybe 50 feet high, made out of brass. But all the way in Africa, people love Dr. King. They love him all over the world because of his humanitarian work, his work on equality and justice and fairness. And so when you watch our campaign, you're going to see a lot of elements that we have taken from the legacy of Dr. King. One of the things that our campaign really wants to make sure that everyone knows is that our campaign is about improving the quality of life for everyone. And that is what Dr. King was about. So whenever I speak in that way, whenever you see our hashtags and our theme, it's based on the concepts of Dr. King. I believe really strongly that his way of thinking was ahead of his time. And it's the type of thinking that we need right now in this country, especially with the political and social unrest, the insurrections, the threat of more insurrections across our nation's capitals. We have to have figures like Dr. King who can pull people together. And so, he was very impactful in my life. He's one of the things I remember when I was in college studying sociology and political science was a letter that he wrote where he talked about our brothers and sisters are living in an airtight cage of poverty in the midst of an affluent society. We do not have to be that way. We can be better. But it takes people who not only understand policy, but have the heart and care for people across the board. And so I believe that I'm one of those people who definitely likes to look out for other people. I mean, the underdog is going to get my heart every time. I'm going to
Same.
as hard as I can. And so we have to have people like that in Congress. I have this saying that a leopard doesn't change its spots. And so whenever you look at politicians based on what they're saying that they're going to do, we should be looking at those individuals based on what they have done, because what they have done is an indication on what they will do. If they have spent a lifetime making money, being greedy, suing, and being sued, then when they get in the office of the president, then they're going to continue to do the same thing.
Right. Like people were surprised by that. Like it would go any other way with him. He's a con artist to begin with. How it was never going to end any other way.
Exactly. So if you spend a lifetime in activism work, like Bernie Sanders, for example, before the cameras were rolling, before running for office, people that were out there fighting for the people, a leopard never changes his spots. Whatever they were doing before running for office, that's what they're going to do when they get in office. And so it's a very easy way to determine who you should vote for.
So tell us what you do, like before you were running for office, like what's your real life job? And not that I don't think anybody anywhere should be able to just run for office, because I do, but clearly you have a non-political, you have a life besides that.
Yeah, I have a very diverse background. I've been a corporate development specialist. I've helped to set up over 300 companies and counting. I've been a sports agent. A lot of people don't know that about me.
Okay, see now I can't even vouch for where this conversation will go.
I've represented professional athletes and entertainers from around the world. We had one of the largest sports and entertainment agencies that represented clients literally across the board, from reality TV show stars to sports and entertainment figures, sportscasters. So I've been behind the scenes a lot for a lot of different people. And we've built some pretty nice brands. But I'm also a cosmetologist. I've been cutting hair for over 28 years now. I have a salon and spa here in Highlands County where I'm owner operator. So I could do your hair, I could do your eyebrows, facial.
So you're a small business owner.
I'm a small business owner. Yeah.
Yeah, that to me is the key thing, I think, in terms of getting people into Congress, is getting more people that are small business owners. That is just a very overlooked population of people that seems to continually get screwed.
Yeah. And the thing is that so many companies across the country have fallen by the wayside and rendered many people out of work. And so we're going to have to be very creative in how we bring back the jobs market so that it can be sustainable for the future. One of the things I want to be able to do in Congress is to streamline the SBA process for how it delivers funding to small businesses. It is small businesses that are the backbone of our economy, and our economy is the backbone of the economy. So we have to do everything in our power to make sure that those small business owners are getting access to those dollars and not being deterred by the amount of paperwork and the amount of intrusive questions that they ask. We want to just make it simple, get people the resources so that they can stimulate our economy.
Yeah, I agree. You mean you don't think that Tom Brady deserved the $1 million PPP loan that he took there?
Get out of here.
He did, took it. He did.
Not easy when you're in the region that everyone's, we're all Bucks fans right now. But
sorry, but whatever.
Salty Dolphins fan hates the Patriots.
I
Tom Brady
really,
will always
really
be a Patriot.
do.
So,
what's your team? Most importantly,
what's my team?
Yeah,
or teams,
or teams, yeah.
Being a Floridian, you got to go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Well, no, you could go with the Miami Dolphins. I'm just saying.
The Dolphins. Yeah.
I mean, just in general, like, is that your team? I mean, like, where you live, what's your sports team where you live?
Yeah. Well, I'm probably about maybe 45 minutes from Tampa. So
okay. So yeah,
that's a home team for us.
Yeah.
But I like boxing. I used to represent a lot of boxers and stuff like that. Boxers, MMA, but now I think the blood sport now is politics.
It is definitely you know what? That is a great segue. Politics is absolutely unequivocally a blood sport. It doesn't get talked about enough. There's a lot of people who go into it with this idea that we're gonna make nice. I'm like, no, you're not. There's a reason why, especially the GOP in the state, have been in charge for 22, 23 years now.
They don't play nice.
No, they play to win at all costs, and that is something that, again. When you think about the Florida Democratic Party, the way that it is constructed, and considering how many losses they have sustained for as long as they have, what are your thoughts on this recent, somewhat of a realigning, but obviously the new party chair? I do think in terms of the DNC delegates, we did end up getting in a couple of really solid people. Sanjay Patel in particular comes to mind up, in your part of the state.
Yep.
And
Nadia,
Ahmed, and then down here you have Tomas Kennedy. Yeah. So we did have
three.
Obviously it's not a lot, but you got to start somewhere. And I think one of the biggest mistakes that the Democratic Party ends up making is they don't recognize that the change really happens at the ground level. It happens in your local communities. It happens by becoming committee precinct people, becomes DNC members, and obviously the GOP has a lot of that on lock. But I would say based on what we've seen with the recent election, I'm not sure the Democratic Party of the state's really learned too much. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's going to be something to see, but I will say this: in the past, I think the party should have spent more resources in red districts for candidates that were trying to flip those districts. We had an opportunity across the state in red districts, but we just got zero support.
See, we would have been better served supporting candidates like you instead of throwing money behind people like Shalala and Murkoso Powell, who ended up losing their seats in a plus blue district.
Yeah, I think what it is, this has been the past. I don't know what it's going to be like moving forward, but in the past, you have to have raised a significant amount of money before the party will even look at you. And I think that's the wrong strategy.
It is.
That's how it all is. But look, that's how it is with endorsements and unions. And you know how this goes. And it's this sort of catch-22 where, oh, well, if you were viable, we'd support you. But okay, if you would support me, I'd be more viable. And it's just this cycle. And it really is set in place by corporate America to just keep it the way it is.
Alan, how much of that do you think has to do with, and again, we can only speak for what goes on in our state. I'm from New Jersey. I'm actually not as well versed in terms of how things operate, but New Jersey happens to be a blue state. In terms of here, how much influence and undue influence would you say what you would call consultant class has over the Florida Democratic Party?
Yeah, in the past, it has had a considerable amount of influence over the party. But you hit it on the head when you said earlier that the change starts at the grassroots level. It starts with people, at the local level. Rather than spend so much money on DC consultants and who really don't understand what's going on down here on the ground, the party should really put resources into the grassroots candidates, the grassroots activists, the grassroots people who know exactly what's going on. Because you could see something like, for example, you could see something online about what's going on, but having a strong sense of the community, knowing who would actually convert over to our way of thinking is a lot more impactful than someone reading something online and running figures, because it doesn't always translate to where we are, where the rubber meets the road. And so running here for 2 campaigns, I've seen a lot. I was a part of the No Dem Left Behind coalition. And so this isn't just a problem that's here in the state of Florida. It's a problem across the country. It's outdated thinking. We have to ignite new thinking, and we have to start to listen more. If the party had just listened more, then we would have more victories across the country. But
they would have to forego their corporate entanglements. And that, to me, is the ultimate problem. I mean, the Florida Democratic Party is sponsored by Big Sugar and Walmart. And when you have your state party being corporately run, it makes sense that they would do things exactly how they're doing them. So to me, it's not at all surprising. I wanted to ask you something. One of our super volunteers, Josh, is asking what your thoughts are on gun reform. You know, and let me preface this with, this is not a big issue for me. It was not a big issue for my campaign, but definitely down here in South Florida, it's a question that gets asked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was something that we talked about for about 3-4 hours last night on Twitter. I believe that, you know, we should have gun reform in this country because so many people are losing their lives to gun violence. And when you think about countries that have better gun laws than us, they have less gun violence. And so that means that something has gone wrong in this country and we have to fix it. I respect responsible gun owners. I respect the Second Amendment. I'm a gun owner myself. But at the same time, sometimes people get guns who should not have guns. And I think that there are a lot of things that we could do to close the gap on how many of those types of people get access to weapons that they end up, you know, going into schools and going inside of churches and going inside of nightclubs. You know, we don't want to continue to have to face these types of fatalities, especially with so many people losing their lives to COVID-19 and suicide and stress and all of these elements. So we want to make sure that we do look at what we can look at, fix what we can fix, and have some common sense gun reform.
And I think that's a great point because most people are responsible gun owners overwhelmingly. Like, you know, the numbers are so exceptionally high. The problem is the NRA because they are a corporate special interest group. Mm-hmm. For them, the only thing that matters to them is expanding membership in gun sales. They do not care about reform because reform means losing revenue. So it goes without saying that there's a huge difference between being a supporter of the Second Amendment and a supporter of the NRA. And as we know in the state of Florida, the NRA is probably as strong here as it is anywhere in the country. You know, we all know about Mrs. Hammer and the wonderful work she does in Tallahassee. What has been, I guess, your experience trying to communicate with, you know, let's say Republican voters who are willing to give you, you know, their ear, and you do bring up the issue of, let's say, gun reform, because Rubio in particular is very much corporate captured by the NRA.
Yeah. So again, we had this conversation for about 3 or 4 hours last night. And what it boils down to is that most people are speaking from political speaking points. And so when they think about Democrats, they automatically think that Democrats are trying to take their guns. And so I've had this conversation with Republicans, and I'll tell them, go to the Democratic platform. If you want to know what the Democrats are about. You can't listen to Fox News and think you know what Democrats feel about gun reform. Because if you can open your mind, if you can hear the logic, you shouldn't get any problems with wanting to expand background checks. But if you're filtering what you're hearing through Fox News speaking points or Republican Party speaking points, then you're not going to truly hear the reasoning behind what needs to be, you know, what needs to be done in this country. And so all I hear oftentimes is, oh, well, Chicago has some of the strictest gun laws in the country and their crime rate is, you know, through the roof. But when you think about where the guns are coming from, they're not coming from Chicago. They're coming from states where the gun laws are not so restrictive. And so it has to be a across the board uniform system that has background checks that are universal, that are reciprocal between the states. And that's when we're going to start to see some of this stuff come down. But, you know, you can't just be blurting out speaking points. No one's trying to take away anybody's gun.
I know. I tell them all the time, I don't want your guns. I don't want my own guns. I definitely don't want your guns. You know, I'm not trying to take anybody's guns. But, you know, one of the things I do think that the left, in my opinion, gets wrong is they like to have these like instant fix Band-Aid answers for things that make them feel better. So, for example, the idea of banning assault weapons. My problem with it is that I don't think it would be effective. I don't like there's a myriad of things as to why it's wrong, but that would only solve such a small percentage of the gun violence that we have in this country. And what people don't realize that the majority of this country is dealing with handgun violence. That's the majority of gun violence in this country is that. And so it's one of those sort of solutions that makes them feel better about things like what happened in Parkland and mass events like that, which are horrible. But that is still a very small percentage of actual gun death in this country.
Yeah, the reality is that some of these issues, there is no quick fix. And some of these issues is going to take time to put together policies that make incremental changes to the problem. And then over time, you will see, you know, a big fix, but it's no overnight fix for a lot of this stuff, especially with 3D printing machines, and people can just buy the machines and download the instructions and just print at home.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a big issue, but it's not something that's going to change overnight. And no one's going to take your guns overnight. There's no communist regime that's going to come in and take your guns. As a matter of fact, I don't know of any Democrat, maybe one, but I don't know of too many Democrats that believe the way that a lot of the Republicans think that about when it comes to this issue.
No, they take it to the extreme.
I see what you did there, Alan. That's a good. That would inside joke between us.
You like that, huh?
We're speaking with Alan Ellison, who is from the 17th Congressional District of Florida. He ran there twice and is now running to be the Democratic nominee for the U.S. Senate for the state of Florida. Alan, now we're going to have to get serious and get into what I would call not the most comfortable of topics, and that, of course, is foreign policy. We all know how much of a hot button topic that is here in the state of Florida. Jen, as you know, ran against a person with not a good foreign policy record in Debbie Wasserman Schultz. What is your position as far as, I mean, obviously we could start with Venezuela.
Yeah.
That's the most obvious one because it's close. But we all know what the contentious issue is, particularly with that country. 25% of the crude oil that exists on this planet is underneath their soil.
And we know that Marco Rubio is all gung-ho regime change.
100%.
So, you know, that's what, and unfortunately there is that faction of the Democratic Party, like our Congresswoman, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who does support regime change in Venezuela.
But that has much more to do with the financial attachments.
I don't
to
care what the reasoning
No, I'm
is.
just saying. No, you should care.
No.
Because we have to care. We have to understand. Like when somebody says, well, why are you for, you know, a duly elected representative being removed from office, and then the next thing you know, oh, well, now we got to take them out. Well, the corporate special interest money, when it comes to the military, you know, Raytheon, Boeing, Lockheed Martin, and all of them, can you talk about your feelings about foreign policy, how you feel about, let's say, regime change
in
wars,
Venezuela,
for example?
Yeah.
Because I do think that one of the things that could really change those types of policies, whether it be in South America or in the Middle East, is the ability to have, whether it is a Green New Deal or some type of an infrastructure bill put through in the United States Congress that focuses on growing clean energy jobs, so we're not dependent on, you know, foreign oil.
I mean, well,
that
there is definitely an intersectionality there, but yeah, that was a mouthful. But like, we could start with Venezuela.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. We should really focus on our country to make sure that we're building the necessary energy solutions so that we're not dependent upon these foreign countries. But it's interesting that you brought up Venezuela, because I've been talking about that for the last year, especially with the elections here in the United States. You know, I kept telling people, I said, you know, if we're not careful, we're going to end up just like Venezuela, with a president who lost the election and doesn't want to change. And one of the reasons he didn't want to change is because of the money that he's making and the fear of not having the power of the presidency to keep him out of prison. But yeah, we definitely need to focus on building here at home clean energy solutions so that we're not dependent on foreign oil, especially with countries that are volatile and countries that deal with their own forms of insurrection. I mean, it's just not a good place to be. Throughout American history, we have always run across our foreign policy scenarios whereby we have become in situations where it just wasn't conducive to be in, and we had to retreat back and build back better at home so that we can become the superpower that we are. And so when you think about energy, we have changed from coal, we have changed from oil, but we need to make the next step into green energy solutions. And I think that will solve a lot of our foreign policy problems, because we're not just dependent upon Venezuela, but we're also dependent upon Canada, oil that comes out of OPEC in the Middle East. And so, these countries, they want a lot for what we are dependent upon. And our dependence on oil is so strong that when you think about it, oil is in pretty much 70% of everything that you can see or experience. So that's the electricity, that's the tires on your car, the rubber on the bottom of your shoes, the blue in this blue suit, 70% of everything you see. But if we can start to focus on things here at home rather than foreign commodities, then it would not only strengthen our economy even more, but we would have a safer, stronger environment, and we would, get rid of those social ties that we have with these countries.
You support a ban on fracking?
Absolutely. Because I know that a lot of Republicans want to be able to do that because of the financial gain, but we're in a very volatile geographical space here in Florida. We can't continue to frack because it's going to do something to our ecological system that we may not be able to recover from. So I know that Trump has been for fracking off of Alaska, and he's been for it here in Florida. But sometimes all money isn't good money. We have to also look at the health and safety of our environment, because without that, we wouldn't be anywhere.
Yeah, they look at short-term money. They don't look at long-term money. So when you kill off our ecosystems and there's dead fish all along the shores and you no longer have a tourism industry, that's actually quite a loss. But that would be later down the road. That would trickle down to small business owners, and they would have already made their money at the front end. And that's, to me, how it's like, yeah, to them, it makes financial sense to have fracking. Of course it does. It just screws everybody else.
How do you feel about a solar initiative for the state of Florida? Obviously, there's only so much we can do in Tallahassee. I really think the importance of building a very strong federal bench, especially on the Democratic side in this state, is essential. And if we were to have somebody in the United States Senate who would be advocating for that in this state, we have a lot of protected land. There's a lot of safe ways of doing it. Heck, Disney, you've probably seen the Disney Mickey Mouse solar field. So I'd like to think that is something that obviously would be great for the environment, reduce the carbon footprint, create a lot of jobs, and help out financially quite a bit as well.
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring up solar. I was driving today with my daughter, and we saw one of those solar fields. So we pulled over and looked at it. It was massive. I think it was about on maybe 4 or 5 acres of land. It was just solar panels galore. I think here in Florida, we do have what we call the green city, where the entire city is ran off of solar energy. I would like to see that across the entire country and across the state. But we have to figure out ways to get solar panels down, because they're kind of expensive right now. But as soon as we can get those down in terms of cost, I would definitely love to see the government, put investments towards that. I think back in 2008, I wrote a proposal to the White House to do a green initiative to revitalize the 8,000 governmental buildings inside of the United States that our federal government owns with green technologies. I think that proposal talked about how we could reduce energy costs by using, solar, radiant barrier technology, thermal safe panel systems, and just a number of different things. But we definitely have to move into the future, because the future is upon us. But we want to make sure that when it is here, it is safe, We want to make sure that we haven't blown up anything, and definitely we want to make sure that our people are equipped educationally wise to be able to work in these types of jobs. So when we talk about green energy solutions, that is the future. But we also have to talk about education so that we can make sure that people are better educated so that they don't get passed over for someone in some foreign country to handle these types of jobs. And so, it's a package deal. We have to have education with green energy solutions.
I definitely think that from an economic standpoint, this is something that I personally think would work extremely well. And for somebody who's running for statewide office, I think it would be very well received. As you know, especially in this state, we have a lot of, townhome communities, HOAs, the ability to sell mass quantities of solar panels into, let's say, 150 unit, communities. The amount of savings that could be done by doing it that way, rather than just single family homes. Not that, look, if you could, if you live in Boca Raton, for example, and you can afford it, that's wonderful. But for the majority of the state, that's not the case. And so if we were able to execute it in multifamily communities, I think that's one of the ways that we could really cut down the cost factor.
Co-ops.
Yeah.
We have that. We have solar co-ops.
And I definitely think that that would be a very effective way, going forward from an economic standpoint. And for somebody who's on the road for the entire state, I don't know if that's a talking point you've discussed as of yet, but I would think that it is one that could be very popular.
Yeah, the thing about me is that if it's a solution, then I will definitely adopt it as a platform issue, because I'm all about bringing the solutions to the problems. A lot of people talk about the problems without ever having any solutions, but I like to be about the solutions. Another thing that I want to talk about in terms of a green energy technology that I've had the privilege of getting to know is this technology that deals with seaweed. There's a certain type of seaweed that gives off a frequency. I used to be a globe changer, which is a group of people who were from around the world that were looking to bring these types of disruptive technologies to the world. And one of the things that we ran into is these companies that were trying, I'm not going to say the names, but these companies that were trying to buy up the technologies and shelve the technologies. But I've seen the technology be used to take a 22,000 square foot facility where the energy bill was about $20,000 a month, and then outfit this entire building with this technology, and the bill got dropped down to $22 a month because it was using frequency to light the building as opposed to electricity, which uses oil.
Yeah, Florida Power and Light will never allow. They are not going to allow for that to get out. Like, that is not.
Well, they're not giving Mr. Ellison any money, so we're going to,
no, nor would they.
Way around that.
There's a question here about, and I can almost imagine what your answer is, about how you feel about the investment in infrastructure and better roads and railroads. And I mean, anybody who's in Florida, I don't know if the person asking this is a Florida person, but we can't even get the train to connect from West Palm Beach to Orlando yet. It was promised to us like 2 years ago or whatever that was. So we're pretty pitiful. We need major, and by the way, our highways are so full of debris. You might as well be driving in a dirt road in a third world country.
Yeah, absolutely. What you speak of is the bill that Obama pushed for. He sent, I think it was something like $50 billion here to get that train together.
Right line.
But Rick Scott, who's a senator now for the state of Florida, he was the governor, and he blocked the money from coming. And so California ended up getting the money during the time when they were actually almost on the verge of filing for bankruptcy. And those funds helped them to do some infrastructural things, and it changed their economy around. I believe in building infrastructure because the last time we've had a major infrastructure project in America was back when Eisenhower was president with the interstate highway system. It put thousands of people to work. It brought us into the modern age of connectivity through the highway system, and we were able to become a even stronger superpower because of it. But when you think about our sewer systems, and I don't know if you ever noticed this, but sometimes in some major metropolitan cities, you might see like water on the side of the curb going down the road.
We have significant problems down here for our eastern part. We have like our sewage system is like more than 60 years old. And the people that live in eastern parts of Broward often have. You're talking raw sewage is just coming up from underneath the ground.
Yeah, so we're talking about over 900,000 tons of raw sewage on America's streets because our sewer systems are outdated.
Yeah.
Some of them are actually crumbling. Our bridges are outdated. I think here in Florida, we've had several bridges to collapse several times. Our people are driving down the roads and their cars are breaking because of the potholes. If we were to have a new American recovery plan, it would definitely need to include infrastructural developments across the country. And it could actually serve as a job creator because of the jobs that we have lost due to the rise of Amazon and because of COVID-19. This would be just what the country would need. It would fix a lot of the problems with our infrastructure, but it would put so many people back to work. So I'm definitely one that is a proponent of infrastructural development.
You're sounding like a progressive to me. I mean, I don't like to label people or anything, but so far, like we've run the gamut of pretty progressive sounding responses.
Are you prepared for a corporate challenger in the Democratic side? Because you know they're coming. I've already heard.
I was going to say you are way too like our kind of people for the Democratic Party to be all excited.
Yeah, they're already. Yeah, Mercurcell Powell's name's already getting floated out there, so I'm sure there's going to be somebody that.
Yeah. The thing is, whenever I started this campaign, it was about raising the issues and raising the awareness on the issues that people are not talking about, like disabilities, like veterans care, like the suicide issues that veterans are receiving, like the fact that no one's talking about the babies living in cages torn away from their parents.
Yeah, what happened to them?
Yeah, so when I talk about these things, the platform that I have now, it gives me a larger microphone. But make no mistake about it, I've already factored in every single possible Democrat that would run against me in this race. And I don't have any fear for any single one of them.
You do seem extremely
confident.
Very well. It's not even that, but you're just very.
Sure.
Yeah, you've got, and I say this as a compliment. I do because I'm not talking policy wise, but you've got this like very chill Obama vibe, and I found him to be the most calm, cool, collected. Just, because what you're taking on is a very massive monolith. And I don't think people really understand what it would be like to run a grassroots campaign for a statewide race and what that really entails. And I mean, it's enormous and you are very chill about it. So,
well, we're building a movement. This isn't about me. This is about how we work together. To beat Rubio and have better and more responsive representation in the United States Senate. So again, if you look at what we're doing online, you can see the numbers are coming over. People from around the country, literally in every single state, have donated money to our campaign.
Did you get Wyoming?
I have several people from Wyoming.
I didn't get anybody from Wyoming. I had every single state in this country except Wyoming. And I've been sort of just blaming Dick Cheney secretly to myself, just figuring, that's his state. Maybe that's why. But God, you got Wyoming.
Yeah,
now I'm really impressed.
We're building a massive coalition and we're leading this movement to retire Rubio. And, the thing is that when it gets right down to it, people are going to say, I don't have the experience. But you know what? They said the same thing about Obama when he was running in the beginning, because I remember I started Florida for Obama. I had 1,700 members in our group. We raised about $850,000 for his campaign. But in those early days, because I actually started Florida for Obama 3 days into his exploratory committee. And I remember
early.
Yeah, I remember going to places talking about Obama, and they kept telling me, oh, he's not ready. He doesn't have the experience. He needs to run maybe after Hillary. But it was something in him that I respected. And it was the fact that this was a person who was talking about hope and change. It was a person that was bringing people together. And it was a person that actually looked like change. And so I jumped on board early on, and people are doing the same thing here. They see, they hear the message. They see that the message transcends party lines. They see that I don't have party support. But the thing of it is that I never factored party support into my win strategy to start with.
See, that's what we said. You are really, like, what you're saying really mirrors what we did at our congressional level. I mean, this was never just about getting one person into an office. It's about propelling a movement forward that keeps snowballing bigger and bigger and being a part of that movement. And it sounds like to me that that's what you're doing. And oh, I so hope you beat Marco Rubio. Oh my God.
Let him get the nomination.
We're going to do it.
But you definitely have the right attitude, and that's the way that you have to be. Because again, even though you're running as a Democrat, there is still this civil war that does exist within the party. It's corporate versus non-corporate. I don't want to hear anybody else, saying that there's any other reason. There isn't. It's not about progressives versus moderates. This is just about, are you on the corporate take or are you not? Are you fighting for the people or are you fighting for the people that are controlling the people? So those are the things that I think at the forefront of, really what we're fighting for. And to be honest, I do believe that Florida is ground zero for economic populism. This is a state that is driven by the service industry, as you know. You're a small business owner. I'm a small business owner. And hospitality. We are so dependent on tourism. And so because of that, you're talking about, just the way that in particular DeSantis has so botched this entire process. And I think one of the things that is going to work to your advantage is I do think that whoever ultimately ends up running on the gubernatorial side, because I think you're right, Alan, I really do think that any of those, what you would call known people like Nikki Fried, for example, they're definitely going for the governor's seat. There's no question about that. But I do think that whoever ends up getting it, we happen to be big fans of Anna Eskamani if she ultimately ends up running, having the ability to run sort of that dual race, if you will, because one thing about Rubio, he's going to try to be as quiet and as unassuming as possible. But I also
not too hard for him.
Definitely
got nothing to say.
But it certainly would not hurt your chances of winning if Rubio ultimately does have a primary challenger. And I'm hearing that there is a possibility that he could be facing that. And if that's the case, good.
How fun will that be?
Oh, well,
I'm actually getting very excited about the possibility of having all of the people. I started to say something else, but the people run against him, like the Trumps of the world, the Matt Gaetz of the world.
Yeah, that's what they're talking about.
They're going to eat each other up, and it's going to be. I'm just going to pick up the bones and just pick them, because we're gonna win no matter who's in front of us. Because
the truth is, if you just stick to policy. Mm-hmm. And you just keep talking about what people really care about and what matters to them, and you do not get involved in the nonsense that is the partisan circus, then that's what it's going to take, because that's all he's going to have. See, all he's going to have is partisan circus and identity stuff and whatever it is that he doesn't have policy.
But here's the other thing. Here's the other thing. And this is something that we're going to take on this year and next year. And that is, we have to redefine who we are as Democrats. We haven't had anyone at the national level challenge the Republicans' branding of who we are. And so my background as a sports agent and PR communications professional, I understand branding very well. And we have to rebrand into the minds of everyone about who we are. And so I tell people that progressives are the people that have always been about improving the quality of life for everyone. That is who we are. And we're not socialists, we're not communists, we're not anything else, but we are the people that care. And when you think about every major policy that has impacted every single person in this country in a positive way, it has been because of the progressive ideology and the progressive movement. And so I'm just proud to be a Democrat. I'm proud to be a progressive Democrat. And I'm proud to be the kind of Democrat that can and does have the ability to reach across the aisle and bring people into our fold.
Yeah, no, you are clearly about the policy. And, when we talk about this sort of civil war in the party, what we're really talking about, and this is for me, and I'm probably older than you, but when I joined the Democratic Party, there was this concept that this was the Labor Party. That was the Labor Party, right? And so we've reached a point in this country where we don't have a Labor Party. There's nobody speaking for labor. And what the Democrats basically do is they're just corporate, but they're friendlier to LGBTQ, and they say the right things regarding Black Lives Matter. And they sort of have this sort of surface approach to everything to differentiate themselves from what is the corporate GOP. But in reality, we have no Labor Party. And I think that is what, if that was the Democrat message, would get back to its roots as a labor party. Not only would that better everybody in our party, but I really think that you would get a lot of the populist right that were originally turned on by Trump's populist message that have since realized that he's a wackadoo, but they are still populist right people. And that's something that the Democrats completely overlook all the time.
Well, I appreciate those comments. And if you hear it again, you know where I got it from.
That's a politician's line, but a good one. I did like that, Alan.
No, it's good.
We do have, I think, a very relevant question here, because as you know, the cost of living in Florida is insane. From Rasha Leisure, it is becoming harder and harder for a middle-class family to find a decent home to rent. Rent is too high. Credit score requirements are ridiculous. How can we change that? Obviously, I think if you can hang out a little bit longer, I do have a couple of topics I would like to, rapid fire on. But obviously, initially, if you have any thoughts on that, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, the rent is too damn high. I mean, the gentleman up in New York, he said it best. And we have to figure out a way to bring the rent down. Where I am in Highlands County, the business community, downtown Sebring, I believe 80% of those businesses have gone away. It's like a ghost town downtown. One of the reasons they have gone away is because the rent is just too high. I have seen people get evicted out of their homes and have to relocate to other states because the rent is too high. One of the things that we could do to help renters and homeowners, for that matter, is we really need to start looking at these concepts like universal basic income to help offset some of these expenditures that people are receiving. When you think about the 33 developed nations around the world, most of them have some form of a universal basic income for its citizens. And as with America being the superpower, with America being the greatest nation with the largest economy on earth, we should be able to figure out a way so that each and every citizen would be able to have some type of universal basic income so that they can not be in a situation where they're having to get evicted out of their apartments or get foreclosed on, because we do have a lot of taxes in this country, but a lot of our tax dollars are going towards things that are what I would consider wasteful spending, like our military, well, not military, our defense budget.
It's not defense. It hasn't been defense in years. That's an offensive. It's an offensive budget. That's what it is. It's literally and figuratively offensive.
Because here's the reality of that. We spend more money in defense than every country in the world with the military combined. And if we were to cut our defense budget in half, we would still be spending more money than every country in the world with the military combined. But the majority of our defense budget does not actually go towards our military or our veterans. It's going towards those companies that you talked about earlier, for-profit contracting firms, the Lockheed Martins, the Raytheons. And when you look at the salaries of these CEOs, the majority of our defense budget are going to just a few individuals, where if we were to cut our defense budget in half and get rid of some of the wasteful spending, we could have things like UBI. We could have things like universal health care. But we have to look at, better ways of spending our tax dollars so that we don't end up with people like Rasha and people like her that are concerned with how they're going to pay their rent. And so, those are some of my ideas on how we can do it.
Our good friend and volunteer coordinator, Melissa Spence, who lives in Orlando, says $1,750 on average for a 2-bedroom home in Orlando. That is not sustainable. It is not. No. I like to call it the economic trifecta: living wage, universal basic income, and
Healthcare.
economic economics,
okay. I'm like,
and a
yeah.
federal jobs guarantee. And if you haven't had the chance to read Modern Monetary Theory or read up on it, I highly recommend the book The Deficit Myth by Stephanie Kelton. I just finished it. We just had on Fadel Kaboub. He is somebody who's part of Brand New Congress, the slate that Jen was a part of.
Yeah, modern monetary theory is definitely, I mean, you've heard of that. I'm sure you've heard of it, but it's, when we talk about we can't have nice things because our money is somewhere else, that isn't even necessarily related. And yet we still shouldn't be having all our money, to be killing poor brown people in other countries. Like that's just should not be the priority. Yeah. Even if we could afford it all, even if we could afford to do that and do all the things we want to do, I'm still against the amount of money we spend to offensively attack, sanction other people in American imperialism.
And I think you bring up a great point about how it really is just about getting out the message. And the more you just talk about the message, because I guarantee that the biggest negative that people probably say about you when you're campaigning is that you're in the Democratic Party. I guarantee that more often than not, when it's strictly about policy. People are like, yeah, that sounds great. I have no problem with that. In fact, I think that would probably improve my life considerably. So this whole two-party duopoly issue that we're battling here, I think is probably our biggest hurdle. Do you, as we wind down?
Well,
this,
for certain with campaigning, and for certain with making bridges and building coalitions, when we live in a state like Florida that is not just a duopoly but closed primaries, it makes it so difficult because it isn't just a matter of somebody agreeing with your policy. Right now, depending on if you have a primary challenger or not, they have to register as a Democrat. We have so many additional hoops because of the duopoly that make it hard to campaign on policy.
But do you find that that is your biggest hurdle when it comes to, let's say, convincing somebody to support you? Would you say that that is the number one issue?
Yeah, I mean, across the board, across the country, that is the biggest hurdle for Democrats, and that is to get from up under the branding of the Republican Party. And so I said it earlier, and that is we will engage in a branding campaign that rebrands who we are as Democrats. But you said it also, when you start talking policy, not political rhetoric and speaking points, but actual policy, I fundamentally believe that we have more in common than not. Because when we start talking about Social Security, most Republicans and most Democrats will agree that if they have worked 40 years of their life, when it comes time to draw Social Security, they want that money there. But if we can let them understand that it is Republican leaders that's trying to take away the very thing that we all want, then we start to find common ground. Yeah. We start talking about the issues, the policies, and how it directly impacts the people. I guarantee you, we have more in common than not. And there's at least 55,000 different issues. And out of 55,000 different issues, we're gonna have more in common than we don't.
Yeah, and honestly, if you don't have somebody who challenges you in the primary, really a lot of this stuff isn't going to be an issue in a general election anyway, because he's not going to have the issue that we have with that anyway.
No, and I think, for the final time, we are speaking with Ellison, who ran for Congress in Florida's 17th Congressional District. He is running to be the Democratic nominee for the U.S. Senate in the state of Florida.
He's running for Marco Rubio's seat, people.
So little Marco is definitely running away, I guess you could say. I definitely believe that what you're doing is without question the right way to do it for a statewide race. A lot of people are, I believe, and Jen would agree, are jumping the gun for, maybe some of the local races that may be coming up, because you do need to build momentum. But for a statewide race, you're definitely taking the initiative, we believe, the right way, which is just to build as much community relationships as you can. If the
his race, it makes sense to announce early.
Exactly.
That's like people that are announcing early for local. I don't understand it. I think you're just, there you're just creating a headache for yourself.
But for a statewide race of this
Yeah.
magnitude, I think you're doing it the right way. Because like you said, the party infrastructure, if you're not on the corporate take, they're not going to support you anyway. So no matter how nice you are, it's not going to make a difference.
Yeah.
But if you build those relationships with the Democratic Environmental Caucus, with the Democratic Progressive Caucus, if you haven't reached out, I highly recommend you reach out to Bull Sugar. They are based in, I believe.
Are you familiar with Bull Sugar?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Port
You will
Saint-
not have trouble getting their endorsement.
Yeah,
They're
well,
awesome.
not against Rubio.
Yeah.
Port St. Lucie, I believe, but they endorse both. I mean, listen, they're big supporters of Brian
All right,
Mast.
you want to do your rapid fire?
So yeah,
Oh, Mallory, he said he supports UBI. I'm not going to ask him if it specifically has to be what you're saying.
yeah, no, I think that you've definitely made a lot of great points. I think that without question, as we wind this down, we certainly want to allow the audience to know just a little bit more, sort of like a quick wrap up, about you, what you're running for, as far as any.
He
rapid
wants your
fires.
stump speech. I
Yeah.
never had one. He always wanted me to have one. I don't have one. Don't.
I want to hear that stump speech because I'm very good at that stump speech and I know how to convince people to support
You're
me.
all
When I
about
was
the
running,
stump, Bill.
I was really good at the
All
stump.
about the stump.
Hey, people love my stump.
Wow. So you've done Trump, you have Clinton. Who else can you do?
He's got Bernie. He's got. Sorry.
I am a very big fan of anybody who supports Medicare for all, who supports UBI, and supports the American people, because that is the most important thing. We have to take care of our citizens. And the state of Florida, which I have done terrible in, I would certainly like to see
Because
somebody.
you didn't campaign here.
That's okay. I was told not to because people don't like.
Because you listen to the wrong people.
Well-
That's always been
Well,
your
I
problem.
definitely hope that this man, Mr. Ellison, does a phenomenal job. He's doing the right thing. So there's my. That's probably what you would call
So
my
your top three.
I've tried to get Obama. I can't
He
get
can't.
I can't get the pitch down.
No,
Um,
and you also you don't do women well. He doesn't do women well.
No, my voice is too deep. I
No,
can't
it's
do
not
that.
good. And then he does Arnold Schwarzenegger, but it sounds too much like an alien.
No,
Yeah,
I want to
see?
see him run for. I've got to see him run for the Senate.
Yeah, I
I was
don't.
govern-
Yeah.
I was
He's got
governor
some
to-
work to do, and he's got to definitely work on his Joe Biden.
Well, I was the governor of California, and if I could become governor, I can certainly see him become senator.
All right. So yeah, why don't you wrap up? Tell people where they can find you. I think I'm going to put the big thing up, even though it covers our pictures, because it has all your information on it.
No. EllisonforCongress.com, right? That's the best one.
AlanEllison.com.
AlanEllison.com. I will put that in right now.
See? All right. So why don't you wrap up? Tell everybody, what you need. Obviously, he
How
needs
they can
money
get
and he needs
involved.
help, volunteers, and all that.
Absolutely. So again, my name is Alan Ellison. I am running for the United States Senate to unseat Marco Rubio. That is the agenda. That is the goal. That's what we're going to do. I'm here in Florida. I've been here for over 35 years. I just joined the 40 and Sexy Club. So I'm 40 years old. A lot of people think that I'm 18, but I promise I'm old enough.
I definitely knew you were younger than me, but I thought much more than that. So you look great. All right, go continue.
We're building a movement to unseat Rubio and to flip the Florida state blue. We've had so many people to go to the Senate, the House of Representatives, but we haven't had true representatives that represent all of the interests for all of the people. And we're looking to change that this year. This election is bigger than me. I can't do it alone. I need your help. So please visit our website at alanellison.com. Sign up. We need writers. We need amplifiers. We need contributions. In order for us to get our message out, we're going to need to have financial revenue to be able to buy things like ads on television, radio ads, yard signs, road signs, collateral material. This stuff costs money, especially in a state that's so large with 67 counties. We have a long way to go, but we can't do this without your help. So if you like our message, if you agree with our policy positions, then get involved with the campaign. We can always use your help in some kind of way, whether it's just writing postcards or phone banking or text banking or even advising. I'm the kind of candidate where I understand I don't know it all, but I am a big listener. So I will listen to you. I'll be on Twitter tonight asking you for your advice. I'll be on Twitter asking you what matters most to you, because I want to know exactly what's on your heart and what's on your mind. Because when I'm in Senate, I'm going to take those things to the Senate and I'm going to push for legislation that can directly impact your world. Thank you again. I'm Alan Ellison and I approve this message.
All right. See, and here's the thing. I'm thinking you go to Senate. All I want you to do is kick the shit out of Mitch McConnell. Can you kick his ass? Can somebody kick that man's ass? Like, that's really what we're all wanting to see. I'm sorry.
The other thing I want people to do is to be safe. Please, this coronavirus is taking our country by storm. I know that people know about the mask, but a lot of people don't know that the eyes is another way for the virus to get into the system. So please wear your glasses, wear your shades, wear your goggles, whatever you need to do to stay safe. We want to bring these numbers down. I think there's another strand of the coronavirus. It's more aggressive. I know that some people, their hearts and their lungs are starting to explode. So we don't want people to be out there among that. And if you're in the nation's state capitals, please be safe this week, because we are hearing that there will be more insurrection, and we don't want you to get caught up into any of those things and possibly lose a life like we just lost 5 lives in DC. So, my hearts are and my minds are, our hearts and our minds are with you. We want you to stay safe. And when we become United States Senator, we're going to definitely work very hard. There's not going to be anybody that's going to work harder than I am for you in the United States Senate, because I don't sleep.
Don't invite people to know that stuff about you.
Well, actually, if you want to be, I hate to say it, if you want to be a federal, legislator, you kind of have to be able to deal with insomnia. It's not an easy thing.
Yeah,
but
no, it's not.
If you certainly have a very strong passion to serve, especially
people
for the
help
right
him out.
reasons.
Everybody go on, definitely go. What's your social media, like, where people can like follow and all that stuff?
So on Twitter, it's Alan L. Ellison, @ Alan L. Ellison. Same thing on Instagram. On Facebook, it's Alan Ellison or Alan Ellison for Florida. We have a group, Alan Ellison for Florida group, where we share a lot of things there. So please find us online, connect with us. We definitely need your help. We can't do it alone, and we're going to have fun. We're going to learn. I believe in educating the populace, because the better educated a voter is, the more that educated voter will vote for the best leader to lead this country. So we're going to give a lot of education.
I agree. That's what we do too. That's what we're about.
You'll be able to see this stream. It will be on Facebook, it will be on Twitter, and it will be on YouTube. If you haven't subscribed on YouTube, make sure that you like, comment, and share the video.
And Alan, we'll send you some clips as well, so that if you want to use stuff on your social media, you can use them as well.
and we'll be happy to continue this conversation going forward. This is you obviously are fighting the same fight that we're fighting.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're from a different part of the state, but we certainly have our own movement that we're growing down here in Southeast Florida and Broward and Dade.
We are on your same team.
So we definitely look forward to hopefully having you on again. And like we said, guys, definitely check him out. Alan's the real deal. Thank you for coming on, and we certainly hope to see you again real soon.
Thank you very much for having me on your show.
Thanks, Alan. Nice to meet you.
Have a great night.
You too.
Bye-bye. Well, he certainly
leave that up for a minute.
Yes. Well, he certainly is exceptional. And
yeah, I look,
well, when's the last time you heard anybody that was right? But again,
I just know they're going to, I so am waiting for something from, look, the party just elected Manny Diaz to lead the state party.
They're definitely going to put somebody up, whoever it's going to be. But if somebody like Alan is already establishing himself.
No, I know.
This is what's really amazing.
That's where the strategy becomes better to do earlier. That's where it matters.
If Andrew Gillum in the primary, not the general, but in the primary, was able to run in the progressive lane in Florida and win,
it
means it's doable. So don't let anybody tell you that it can't be done.
In fact, what we know that why Gillum ended up losing is because he stepped away from that lane.
That is correct.
He stepped out of the progressive lane.
And when he was on CNN in the debate with Ron DeSantis, and he backed off of Medicare for All when Ron was trying to goad him, and he should have been able to just say, you know what, I'm fighting for the people and you're fighting for corporations. That's really all you have to say, because that's the truth. I mean, that is the difference in so many respects. When you are principled and you are willing to put in those fights, and when you don't have to change your message to, appease a certain population that may be contributing to you financially, when you just stick to your convictions and you're actually fighting for the principles that really matter, unabashedly supporting universal basic income, which for people in this state, they think it's they think it's like fairy dust.
I find
but it's
it
not.
so interesting how people are so willing to accept things like K through 12 education, fire departments, police departments. They're willing to accept Medicare. They're willing to accept Social Security. But the minute you talk about like healthcare for everyone, that's crazy.
But
like we cannot do that.
But
That
I think
is
a lot
crazy.
of people are catching on now because of the
Yeah.
fact that the CARES Act in particular gave trillions of dollars to the richest people. I mean, look at everyone is wondering right now, how is Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Warren Buffett the richest men in the world right now? And that's because the CARES Act was just the greatest upward transfer of wealth you're ever going to see. It pumps up the stocks and they're making all of this money and everyone else is getting nothing. And now you have President-elect, who will be president in just over 24 hours, Biden, who is already backing off of the $2,000 checks.
You mean you don't buy what we meant was to say was, well, sort of, we thought if
What
we
he's
got
basically
2,000 total, but really you already got 6 and then we deduct that. And so then really what I meant to say was, are you kidding me?
No, and what they're
These
also saying,
people.
and what Biden is suggesting, which I think is horrific politics, if we're being honest here, he is trying to take credit for the $600 that Trump gave us. That wasn't something that Biden gave us. Remember, he's not president yet. Everyone likes to point that out. Can you let him get in first before we start going after him? But the truth is, no, just because we got to say the $600
I'm kind of
check was-
resenting the concept that they're
Nuts.
giving us anything. Like, what
You would rather them just show their true stripes and say, hey, listen,
no,
we really don't want to help
What I'm saying
you.
is they're not giving us anything. That's ours. See,
It is
that's
our
the
money.
thing that's so interesting to me. They're not giving us anything. You think Trump and Biden are giving us? Nobody's giving us anything. That's our money. That's our money. So I don't understand how, everyone's acting like somehow this is some gift from them to us. Are you kidding me?
No, and
Because I haven't seen that's not a gift.
No, but you see, this is why you need to keep the pressure on right away, because what they're counting on, what Biden and his administration and everybody in don't ever say, everybody stop saying mainstream media. It's corporate media. That's what it is. So from now on, when they get in, they're already going to be playing this defense of, oh, he's president. And did you see he just axed the Keystone XL pipeline? And it's like, yes, that's wonderful.
Which, by the way, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but we've seen that somebody can cancel that and bring it back a year later.
That's true.
So,
now listen, we're certainly happy that Biden is willing to axe the Keystone XL pipeline.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. You can do one really good thing, but then what if you do 10 really bad things? So it kind of defeats the purpose.
And then people will say, but you're just focusing on the negative. You're just focusing on the negative. We don't need healthcare. Look, he's willing to take down Confederate monuments. That's very important. He cares so much about those things. And as long as we're taking down the Confederate monuments, for some
people,
when the
it's
people
about
are homeless
feeling
and living
good.
on the street, when people like, what was her name? Was Rasha? Was that
Yeah.
it? Well, yeah, when people like her, homeless and living on the street, but at least they won't have to be hanging out next to Confederate monuments outside anymore.
And again, that is why so much of what we see, it's like, yes, I understand that, you don't want to be celebrating, racism, inappropriate, imagery. But, the truth of the matter is, I hate to have to bring him up, but he does make a point to say this, and it's true. Jimmy Dore is from Chicago, and he talked about when he was a kid, he lived very close to the neighborhood of Skokie, which, if anybody knows Skokie, it is one of the highest concentration Jewish communities in the United States. It's very similar to North Miami Beach.
Kaufman's Bagels, the best in Skokie. Sorry, lived there. I lived in Evanston.
Hey, you always got to
years.
give the shout out to the small business owner. That's always important.
I'm just saying, I lived in Evanston.
But every year in Skokie, the white nationalists, the neo-Nazis, they would march in the streets of Skokie in the face of thousands upon thousands of Jews.
I've read that case.
And the reality is, the more you try to suppress a message, the more you try to make this an us against them type situation, the worse this is going to get. Because remember, right now, the wedge issues are what people are focusing on. There is so much economic unrest. There is so much health unrest. I mean, think about how devastating this virus is. Everyone's talking about the survival rate of COVID. What about the long-term health effects? That
Well,
we're not
that's the
even
thing
aware of
that's
yet?
the thing that's not really being accounted
How
for
about
in
the fact that you
discussion.
now have a second strand that has been identified as being even more dangerous than the first? This is not going to get any better.
No. Hey, did you see this? This is so there's this guy that's trolling on the chat. It's really funny, but he wants to know if I get into Congress, when I'm going to kiss Nancy Pelosi's ring. And I do appreciate the comment that followed that said this person knows nothing about me. Oh, Declan.
No, it's very funny that, because initially I thought you were saying something nice and then you decided to troll at the last minute.
No.
That was really smooth.
No, but he's talking about him, but then he posted it about me as well. Like,
oh my God. You know what? Honestly, though, I have no interest, and I hope you don't either.
Nancy can't blink her eyes without her ears moving.
Oh, that's so bad. The truth is, I have no time for this BS. I don't have time for the gossip, all the stuff that's going on right now. Jordan Chariton of Status Quo happens to be a personal friend of mine, and the absolute horse crap. I don't know why I care. We're not even monetized
We're
yet.
not monetized. Say it.
But
what are we talking about, Jordan, though? What was this?
Well, they decided to they flagged his video that he was filming in Northern Virginia today because for some reason there were guys on the video that like somebody had a gun, and they literally pulled.
So they were just looking for an excuse. They were just looking for an excuse.
What you guys don't understand is the second you walk down the road of censorship, it is always going to come back to those that are fighting on behalf of the people.
And the amount of people that jumped on my case the other day when I said, look, it's all fine that we're going after people that were causing an insurrection at the Capitol, but these are generally opportunities for our government to reach a little too far and a little too wide.
Patriot Act 2.0.
Yeah, and it's a problem. And people don't want to see that because they're so fear-based in what they're doing, and they just can't see past that.
And Alan was talking about that, which I thought was so important, is politics of fear has worked for so long on so many people. Yeah. They did it to Bernie relentlessly. Yeah. Bernie's a communist. He's a socialist. He's going to bankrupt the country. He doesn't care about you. Again, all Bernie ever advocated for was very basic policies that have worked all over the world.
Leroy, my mom taught me if you have nothing nice to say about somebody, don't say anything. So that's what I got about that.
Yeah. We have too many people.
What?
You're hitting me.
I'm sorry. It's like I've been sitting for so long. I'm getting antsy.
All right.
Sorry.
Well, we won't be here for too much longer, thankfully.
And I need this.
Stop.
I need
Let me control this now.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, Jen's getting antsy, so now she wants to control everything. So now I got to take control just for a minute.
Yeah, because you never control everything.
No.
All right. Let's go back to the shirts because somebody mentioned the shirt during the talk.
Yes.
Okay. So this is a limited edition generational change jersey. They are purple. It doesn't come off as well on I'm looking at it on the screen and it looks like it's blue. It's not. They're heather purple sleeves and it's like a heatherish white. And it says, "Here comes the sun" with our little sun logo. And then on the back,
and this can be yours for the low price of $25.
We haven't really talked about what we're going to sell the other ones for. So I don't want to go there yet. But so right now, guys, I have a limited amount of these. And by limited, I mean I've got 12. Now, when they sell, and I'm assuming that I can sell 12 shirts, that would be nice. Then at some point, I will reorder shirts. But right now, until we can get to a certain amount of viewed hours on YouTube, I can't have a merch store. And so right now, we're sort of like hand to mouth with this. So if you are interested, I have 6 in size large. I have 3 mediums. Actually 2, unless you want the one that I'm wearing right now, which hey, if that's a selling point, fine. I'll even sign it for you. And if you want it.
Oh, ooh.
And I have 3 extra larges. So
if you want an autograph shirt from Jen, that'll be an extra $25. So that'll be $50.
So, but they do run large. So if somebody wants one, we have to set it up on our webpage. It's not set up. These just came today. So we'll set it up on the webpage so that you guys can order. And I only have 12 shirts, but I will redo these because I do think they're really cute. So
public service announcement.
Yeah.
If you want us to be able to really take this show to the next level, we need you to watch on YouTube.
On YouTube.
It's essential. We have to get to 4,000 viewing hours because
then I can have a merch store full of goodies.
Like your favorite YouTube channels, whether it is Status Quo, which is ours, along with
Bo with the fifth column.
Bo, Fifth Column, The Humanist Report,
Rational National.
Tim Black,
Gray Zone.
Gray Zone. Who
I don't want to leave. See, that's the thing.
Yeah,
Look,
we don't want to leave. You get the idea. You get the idea.
We like a lot of people. There's
yes,
no,
we do.
yeah.
Oh, well, Katie Halper.
Katie Halper, of course.
Rania Kalik.
That's the thing. Like, I could do this all day.
Yes, we could do it all day.
There's a lot of good
do it all day.
Redacted
do it all day.
Yeah.
Graham Elwood and Ron Pacone.
Yeah. But the point is that, as soon as we can get to where we can have a merch store on YouTube, that would be a lot easier. But right now, in order for me to have merch, basically I have to pre-buy and then sell, just me selling it. So we're doing it piecemeal, but I am happy with the design. So I will figure out a way to get this up and running on our website within the next day or so. So if you are interested in a shirt, you will have to be one of the first people to jump on it. These will be $25. And everything's just going to help us get this thing off the ground. I mean, neither of us are going to ever be able to retire this.
We'll eventually be sharing the full story to the extent of why Jen never went on that show. Not going to talk about it tonight because that'll take way too long.
But Declan, if you are, there is a very long history that goes back. It really has to do with a bunch of ridiculous nonsense.
Tim Canova.
But essentially, Jimmy believes lies about us, and so he ghosted us. And it's completely irrational. Jordan Chariton actually did an entire episode on this thing about Tim Canova trying to call us out, but having no evidence of it and all this stuff. So if you go through Jordan and go through Status Quo, I believe it came out sometime, I want to say
right before the election.
Right before the election, like the beginning of August. He did a thing about Tim and what's going on. And basically Jimmy bought into that. So he ghosted us. So that's why I haven't been on Jimmy Dore.
Unfortunately, there is this endless amount of bickering that is going on right now when it comes to, who is the leader, if you will, or leaders of the progressive left.
We don't have any.
Media.
There are none.
Let me finish.
I'm sorry.
In the independent media circuit, a lot of people are fighting for position because they want that lane. They want the revenue, the money. For us, this is not about money. This is about the message. This is about turning politics into service. That is what we are doing. If we're fortunate enough to make money out of it, you better believe it will not be for us to, take fancy vacations.
We're not living large here. If you saw the Rube Goldberg setup in the office, and the only reason, by the way, because I do get compliments on the set. And it is lovely. But the reality is, guys, I used to have an Etsy business where I did art shows, and a lot of this stuff was my inventory. Like all of these pieces are inventory things that I made for my business. So this was stuff that I literally had just sitting in my garage.
The one thing I will say, though, that is very important is for those people that are leaders, Blue Bandit, leaders.
And I agree.
Not leader.
No, but see, I don't think it's about people looking for a leader. I think it's about a bunch of egomaniacs posturing, and it's annoying. And I personally am not going to engage with any of that nonsense. # fomenting discourse. Because I really think that's what we need is discourse, not discord. And that's just my personal opinion. And as far as needing a leader in Congress, I do 100% agree. Here's hoping Nina Turner gets in because Nina's the one.
I don't want to. I mean, listen.
People slam this squad, and I'm really tired of seeing that.
AOC definitely has ambitions. There's no question about it.
That's not the reasoning.
Also, people who have their motivations. Cori Bush made it very clear that she needs help for the city of St. Louis, especially East St. Louis. There's no question that she did what she had to do and probably made a very positive impact by giving her vote to Pelosi. But the truth of the matter is we have a really big component that is going to fester and get worse if we do not deal with it. And that is the infighting in the independent media circuit has got to end. For the people that are, and you know who you are if you're watching this channel, and some of them, I must say, threw my friend Jordan Chariton under the bus. And I will never forget that. Well,
there is a very big element of that this is not just what people are seeing right now, that there's a very long history here with a lot of this. A lot of this isn't new and like.
But
problem.
I'm telling you right now, for anyone who is advocating for any kind of censorship, it will come back and get you. I guarantee it. It always does. And it came back and it got status quo today. It is always going to get worse before it gets better. But if you cut off your nose to spite your face, thinking that Trump is this big bad boogeyman. Don't get me wrong. There are people who are completely radicalized by him, but it is so much easier to radicalize people with a carnival barking grifter like Trump when our country is in shambles. If our country was doing well, no one would give a damn about a guy like that.
Let's answer the question.
So what is the question?
Declan is asking why Nina's running as a Democrat instead of when she came out and supported the People's Party. Declan, you can support the concept of the People's Party and a third party without being a member of it. And in fact, that isn't an official party yet. It won't be named the People's Party. Right now, they're just thinking about like what to do with the People's Party.
If the People's Party is dead serious about growing a third party
But
infrastructure
I'm just
in the United
trying
States.
to answer his
Yeah,
question.
I'm
But
sorry.
the point is that they are not on the ballot. They don't exist right now. There is no actual People's Party, and it won't be called that. So Nina is present and interested in being involved in the beginning stages of that, as am I, to see where it goes and be supportive. I'm supportive of the idea of a third party, as is Nina Turner. But right now, that is not an existing party.
You have to
even if she
recognize
wanted to, that's
how
not
much
there.
time it takes to build that infrastructure. That is a very big part of the process. It takes a very long time to build that trust, to build the financial stabilization that is necessary in order to do it. The best bet for the People's Party, if they really want to start making headway, is to run in nonpartisan races at the local level and start picking off those seats.
Sam, be nice.
Sam,
be nice. I don't know if you're joking or not. I'm hoping
He
you're
might
joking.
be joking.
He must
What
be
the hell
joking
knows?
because he's not that juvenile.
no. Well,
Well, okay.
yeah.
All right, he's a little juvenile, but he's
yeah,
not mean.
really. But just remember, if the People's Party is going to succeed, if you bite off more than you can chew too quickly, you will fail. That's the truth. Because not that people don't want it to succeed, but if you think that just piling on the Democratic Party when that is the only viable option that we have right now, the Greens did it to themselves by not making Jesse Ventura their nominee. Instead went with Howie Hawkins, who may very well have destroyed the party.
No, Mallory,
That's
I
on
know
him.
you're right. They are incrementally getting on different ballots, but as somebody who receives the emails from their legal team that is doing so, this is going to be a very long term. I don't
Correct.
think that it's going to happen as quickly as people think it might
The
happen.
number one thing that we
So-
should be fighting for, everybody should be fighting. May I? The one thing that we all should be fighting for right now is ranked choice voting. That is probably a singular issue that we really could all get behind that crosses partisan lines. We almost had jungle primaries pass in Florida, for goodness sake. So as far as I'm concerned, we need to find signature issues like Medicare for all, like a Green New Deal, things of that nature, living wage, that most people identify with and want to get behind. Once we start really breaking it down into the minutia of, well, am I going to be in the People's Party, the Democratic Party? That's when you lose people. When you talk about the issues that matter and you talk about not running with corporate money, that's when you capture people's attention.
Yeah.
That is what Alan Ellison
But
has
the
presented with
real
us tonight.
issue are people that get, people like labels. They like teams. They like to be cheering red or blue. That's just the way they like to. Everything needs to be categorized and sorted into categories. It makes people feel better about things. But the reality is, for anybody in the state of Florida, we live in a crushing duopoly in closed primaries. And if you are not affiliated with a Democratic or a Republican Party in the state of Florida, then you don't get to vote in our primaries. So it is what it is. I mean, and until the people's movement for a People's Party and whatever they do, and Florida, make no mistake, will be the last state to have a to have them on it if there is one.
However, I do believe that this is a state that is ground zero for economic populism. I really believe that. And I think we have to continue to push that economic message, which is why I think Mr. Ellison is going to do well. I think he's going to continue to build his base of support. And who knows, maybe he does catch lightning in a bottle. He isn't taking the corporate money. And I think that's going to be very attractive to a lot of prospective voters. Does he have enough time to get his message out there? I will say this, having run for Congress twice in an area where he has to cover 10 counties, that's very helpful.
It is very helpful. And that's a pretty big chunk. That's a big chunk.
And not only that, what also gives him an advantage is the fact that he ran in a district that isn't necessarily progressive. It is red, but he's dealing with a completely different demographic than, let's say, people who are in Orlando, in Miami-Dade.
And I think his strategy, obviously, of going the Georgia route and registering voters is the way to go.
Oh, I think Michael Owens, especially, for anybody who is in Georgia, like Jen's friend Michael Owens, he's going to need help up in the northern part of the state. It is a grassroots effort, but we have to.
Yeah.
Let's close with this. I cannot emphasize enough how much building coalitions and checking your ego at the door. Josh, I know we're on the same page.
Don't get me started, Josh. I can't get into that now.
Is that the type of infighting that goes on right now? It's not going to get us anywhere.
Talk about throwing Jordan under the bus.
Yep. As far as I'm concerned, we're not.
I have
preaching.
a loyalty thing. Like, no, but it's like when you know the character of a certain person and you know it very well, and then another certain person does something to hurt the first person. Sorry, that's it. You know, when people show you who they are, believe them.
I do think it's gonna. Remember, it is not on the people who are in power that are going to make the change. Electing people who are not on the corporate dollar definitely makes a difference, but it is the people on the ground that will make the change. And we have to figure out a strategy as to how to make that so. March for Our Lives got 1 million people in DC over gun rights. What if we had 1 million people in New York, in Washington, DC over Medicare for all? Imagine what that would be like. And that is not something that they could ignore.
And I'm not wearing a vagina hat to do it.
Definitely not. And finally, Thursday night. It will be our first show in the Biden presidency, post-Trump era.
And we have a good guest Thursday night. I mean, we always have good guests. So I don't know why I say it like that, but it's like we don't always know ahead of time.
One of the most likable individuals in the Florida legislature, a real progressive champion down here. He's a
mensch.
That's a good word for him.
He is.
Chevron Jones,
Chev is going to be on Thursday.
New state senator Chev, as he is called. I happen to be very good friends with one of his closest confidants, Marina. If you're watching, I love you, miss you. Hope you're doing well. Obviously, Thursday night should be a lot of fun. He's definitely fighting. He has a fantastic bill, as we briefly talked about, to protect people from being evicted. So there is a lot to talk about with Senator Jones.
Yeah, and that's important because the majority of stuff that really affects our lives is state stuff, people. State stuff. And in Florida, with a very heavily Republican legislature, people like Chevron, on the one hand, it makes him stand out really well because there's not so many people that are like that, but he really is fighting the good fight and representing his constituents and doing everything he can to help make life better for the people down here. So he is definitely in this for the right reasons, and I respect that a lot.
No, 100%. And, look, we are developing relationships with as many of our elected officials as we can, because even if you can't agree with them on everything, one of our first guests was Senator Jason Pizzo, and he is definitely more in the corporate centrist wing of the party. But you'd be amazed when you have conversations with people, when you really understand the issues at bar that matter most to people. Even those individuals are receptive. You just have to build a movement. It's not easy. And there are going to be, as Josh has pointed out, people that are going to be in the way and are going to try to knock us off our perch. You just have to let it go. You can't get down in the weeds.
Oh, you know what else we have to do? We have to, now that, we'll make sure she's feeling better, but we need to get Marie on here.
Yes.
Hear me, Sam? If you're still out there, we're going to get Marie on here. Sam loves him some Marie Woodson.
New House Representative Marie Woodson. We'd love to have Omari Hardy from up in Palm Beach County come on. We've got some really... We've got some good people. We are making progress. I know everyone's like, well, it's not fast enough. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. It's never fast enough. There is something to be said for how far we have come in the last few years.
Yeah.
Remember, before Alex unseated Joe Crowley, no progressive Democrats were challenging corporate Democrats in primaries. It was unheard of. Now it's a thing. So you have to say that change is happening. It is.
And I always say this when people ask about, because what people want to know when you've run for Congress and you don't win, they kind of want to know, like, that post game, how did you feel about that? What went wrong? What did you, like all of that stuff. And when you lose, it's seen as just a loss. But the reality is that it is a snowball and momentum that keeps this movement going. And every person that you reach, every person that you educate, that you bring into this movement to help make people's lives better, that is a win. And so really, we win every time that we get the message out and build another bridge to somebody, or, it's just not one thing that happens one race. It's over time. And so I personally have always felt that what we did was great. I mean, yeah, if we had more money, sure. Who knows what could have happened if we had more money, but it doesn't work that way. You get what you get.
No, you just got to keep, like I said, the future, no matter what happens over the course of the next 2 years.
Representative
The
Hardy.
future.
Who's that? Who's Representative Hardy? What district is that?
Where are you looking?
Here.
If you get Omari Hardy.
Oh, okay. Okay. What district is that's Palm Beach?
Yes.
Okay. We'll work on that. We'll work on that. I mean, during our campaign, we were definitely very focused within District 23. So a lot of the reach of the people that we know personally are in that, but we have no problem reaching out and wanting to bring in all other people.
And Chevron covers Pembroke Pines, which is a huge part of our district in terms of the communities that cover Florida's 23rd congressional district. Pembroke Pines is a significant portion of where the population lies in the district. So there is, like I said.
Yeah, Josh, I'll reach out to Steve. And actually, you know what? If you want to hook that up, you want to hook me up, I'd be more than happy to bring him on. He's adorable.
Mez is good people.
He's nice. He's a great
No,
kid.
like I said, we're definitely building something here, and it takes time. But the truth of the matter is, regardless of what ends up happening, the likes of Debbie Wasserman Schultz, they are the past, and they know.
Of Debbie
and they have to know, and they have to know that they are. They can't be that naive. Maybe they are. Maybe hubris is too great with people like that. But as long as we keep doing what we're doing, the future belongs to us and our movement, because we are not bought, and we are on the right side of the issues, and we're willing to build bridges with anybody who is willing to do the same. So with that said, it was a wonderful show tonight. We love you guys. Thank you so much for your support. Like I said, if you're not subscribed already on YouTube, please make sure that you go and not only subscribe, but as many viewing hours as you're willing to put in. And you don't even have to watch. You just put it on silent and let it stream, because we need to get to 4,000 viewing hours. John, I don't know if you know how many viewing hours we're at right now, but we're moving. We're past the halfway point. That's the most important thing. We're over 2,000 hours now. I think we may even be closer to like 2,100. But the more you guys watch, the better it's going to be. This is 2 hours worth that we did tonight. There you go, Declan. See, now this is something you and I can agree on. That's so terrible. That is so wrong. I believe America's the greatest country in the history of the world.
But
for the final time, I'm saying goodbye. You people totally.
Oh, give him the hug. I can't.
I'm not going. No, I'm totally not going away. I'm totally sticking around, and you're totally going to have to deal with me. Remember, it's happened before. Grover Cleveland, two non-consecutive terms. That was really incredible.
You're going to be in prison before that happens.
No, I'm totally not going to prison. I have too much information.
No, where you're going to be. The Southern District in New York has their eyes on you, my friend.
It's totally fake news. It's totally fake news. You don't know what you're talking about.
I think they do.
They don't call me Teflon Don for nothing. They don't call me Teflon Don for nothing.
Who calls you that?
I call myself Teflon Don. It totally works.
Nobody calls him that.
No, it's totally true.
Michael Rappaport calls him Dick Stain Don. That's actually one of my favorites. By the way, I'm a big fan of Michael Rappaport.
Listen, he only wishes.
I love Michael Rappaport.
We totally have to go, because I am about to spend a wonderful romantic evening with Pamela Anderson. I know she doesn't.
Okay, listen, if anybody out there, look, Pamela Anderson, the entire free world and the first constitution is dependent on you having a successful meeting with this bozo.
Did you hear that, Pamela? Did you hear that, Pamela?
Oh,
you totally have to sleep with me for the good of the country. For the good of the country, it's totally worth it. And I'm believe me, it's going to be the greatest experience of your life. And that's what you're going to tell the people. You're going to tell the people that Donald J. Trump is the greatest man I've ever slept with, ever.
Oh my God!
And then who knows? Maybe that.
Did you ever think
that
the sanctity of our First Amendment would be being held together by a potential visit between Pamela Anderson and Donald Trump?
I totally told you that I would save the American people. I didn't tell you how I was going to save them.
Oh my God!
No, Listen, It's totally worth it.
We-
She totally appreciates it.
Okay, we gotta go. You've got to
Hold
stop.
the mess for a minute.
Oh my God. Can you just end, please?
We're going to make America great again as soon as I sleep with Pamela Anderson. I'm going to pardon Julian Assange as a trade-off. It's totally worth it. Believe me, you have to let everybody know that it is totally, tell Pamela it's totally worth it. It's totally worth
I can't anymore.
And if she does that, I'm going to keep my word. You know, I always keep my word. I never lie. I always tell the truth. So when I tell the truth and I tell you I'm going to pardon Julian Assange.
Oh my God, I only wish,
Pamela,
guys.
it's totally
Yes.
worth it. It's totally
Unity
worth it.
for Jay, y'all.
Yes, totally, incredibly worth it. I am not going anywhere. I am still the president, and
I
I can
agree,
carry
Sam.
that tire for the rest of my life.
Let me
Believe
tell you
when I
something. If
tell you.
Pamela Anderson pulls this off, whole new respect. Whole new respect. Whole new respect. You know, I mean, level. But then again, if Trump does that, I'll have a whole new thing for him too. And the truth is, I'll still find him douchey, but I will appreciate that.
We really appreciate
All
you all
right,
checking out
guys.
tonight. Like I said,
Thursday
Thursday
night,
night,
Chevron's gonna
Chevron
be
Jones,
here.
he'll be here, and we'll have a lot more fun. Maybe I'll retire the Trump
I'm
parody.
begging.
Maybe I won't.
I can't handle it.
We're all here to have a good time.
All right, guys. Out.